My goal is not to break you. My goal is to make you harder to break.
Number six!
Huge sack by Joey Bosa.
Touchdown! 90-yard touchdown!
Picked off at the 8-yard line by Derwin James.
Sets his speed, takes a shot downfield, has Knighton, caught, touchdown, Chargers!
Grab your lunch boxes and go attack this day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
How's the second half comeback there on Thursday Night Football, baby? Coming from 21 to 10 down in the second quarter, both sides of the ball rally to charge forward in the second half and record a 34 to 27 victory over Denver, sweeping the Broncos for the first time since 2010, denying the chance for the Donkeys to clinch a playoff spot in prime time. That was a Christmas come early for a team reeling off the back of consecutive losses, leaving just one win required from the remaining two to lock in playoffs for themselves. It's a Merry Christmas from the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. I am Andy. I'm joined by Alistair and Jack. And a happy holiday to you and yours, gents. Some miraculous little pieces in that contest. Momentum swinging, fair kick, cat. Shit!
Santa's drunk.
Santa man is drunk. Santa's had a few eggnogs, dragging that lead back to 8 points. Herbert morphing into some higher being and unleashing magical talent to Darius Davis down the sideline, and Palmer's catch on this 2-point conversion. But it wasn't all roses to start off with, was it, Jack, mate? How did you feel in that first half of that game?
Well, it's changes, turn and face the strange changes. Whatever happened in the first half, I mean, that was 6 quarters of pretty subpar football on both sides of the ball as well. And we haven't said that this year. When I say 6 quarters, I mean, I'm also taking into account the Buccaneers game. But something happened at halftime. And as you mentioned, Andy, momentums are intangible. You can't touch it. You can't feel it. You can sense it. But that little play at the end of the second half, first half there, whereas that fair catch kick. There we go. Say that, as I said, 10 times drunk. It's pretty difficult. Not that I'm drunk. It's 9 a.m. in the morning.
It's 9 a.m.
9 a.m. Yep. But yeah, pretty incredible. It's probably the best second half performance we've seen all year, which bodes well for the upcoming 2 games against the Patriots and the Raiders and playoff football. But yeah, what did we do? We scored 21 points. We held them to 6. There was defensive adjustments. Derwin James came back from playing free safety and sort of more onto the ball. Justin Herbert suddenly used his legs, which I didn't think he was going to because I thought the ankle was injured, but he didn't kind of look like it. Pass protection started holding up, and Denver kind of just went, which is what we're used to seeing the opposite. So fun times.
Man, when you sung David Bowie, I know Andy likes a bit of David Bowie. I'm now just thinking of, it just came to me. Andy also likes a bit of Matchbox 20, I reckon. I'm thinking like, let's see how far we've come. It was the same vibe, Jack and listeners. And I think it's great we've got this game in the week of Christmas because the game definitely had this element of spiritual regeneration to it after years of disappointment. And I reckon we even had Sean Payton playing his role as the Grinch who's about to steal Christmas with his caps lock "run it" written on his play sheet. Yeah. What a bastard that guy is. He knew that the Thursday Night Football cameras would pick that up and he'd get his little moment in the spotlight. But I thought it really came into fruition late in the game how prepared the Chargers coaches were for the little details. And that feels very, very different. You mentioned the fair catch kick. Geez, say that 3 times.
It is hard. It's actually quite hard.
It's hard, the fair catch kick. I also thought the clock management at the end of the game, guys, just little things, the way Herbert took those snaps and milked a bit of clock and then made sure he bought time on 4th down and threw it up and out of bounds. This team's across the details, and now it looks like I'm not sure. Has anyone got their eyes on other results today? Do we still need to win a game to at least make playoffs?
Bengals won, which is irrelevant to us. Colts won. A bit of a shootout, 38-32, I think.
Okay, I think that means we need to at least win one of the next 2 games.
Yeah, Dolphins haven't played yet.
But you got to feel pretty good about that. So
For sure.
Let's start. Where do we want to start today? Do we want to go traditional for Christmas and go with offense first, Andy?
Sure thing. Sure thing, man. Because it was another one of those ones starting with a 3-play or 3 and out. Just kind of didn't give you the good vibes, watching together as we do, mate. And I don't know, I just was off the back of last week's performance offensively. I just thought this is a carryover, and it took a little while. And then, Denver score off 3 touchdowns on 3 consecutive drives, and you're going, okay, we've actually got to come out and fight because our defense is not going to carry our offense today. But a few things started to get going, and like you said, Jack, you made a really good point, man. I didn't expect to see Herbert using his legs at all. I looked at there was a graphic on the brace that he had on his ankle, and it was like the Bionic Man, kind of on the outside of his boot strapped up. And then he comes out and has 45 rush yards off 8 attempts and a massive one on a 3rd and 10 for 15 in our own half. So really I think Herb probably thought he just needed to throw the team on his back a little bit more, extending plays. Like I said, there was some great throws. Wasn't perfect, of course. He missed Palmer kind of twice. One, both times behind him. One obviously ending in that Chris Abrams drain interception. But look, to start off with, I didn't think it was too horrible. It just got a lot better once we sort of found a gear after halftime. What did you think, Jack, on the offense?
Yeah, like the metrics when you compare them to last week, a sneaky little sub-narrative to this game is also the penalty yards and how ill-disciplined the Denver Broncos were. That's 7 penalties for 61 yards, and we've given up 2 penalties for only 8. Alistair, you mentioned the devil is in the details. And those penalties for Denver came in big spots too. And it's incredible to be on the other side of that because normally it's holding that negates a 22-yard pass to Lad McConkey in a big spot. And we go, oh crap, now it's 2 and 20. We're stuck on our own end zone and we're going to punt the fucking thing. But, you look at third down conversions. We were 6 of 12, so 50%, far better than last week. We went for 1 4th down, which Alistair, I'm sure you were very happy about. And we tried for 2 points twice, converting one of them. So those little things are those metrics that we look for in this Chargers team that kind of give us that. And at the end of the day, the margin, I don't think, wasn't as big as what the score suggested. But those things are what you want to see from a disciplined team, especially when you're tired, especially when you've got a banged up secondary as the injuries. Like that's another narrative of this game that we've got to maybe talk about later. But very, very happy with how the team responded, as I said, after 6 quarters of pretty average football.
Not only the team, also Greg Roman. Ho, 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 Merry Christmas. Have you been naughty or nice, Mr. Roman? I've been a bit of both, actually. To build on what you said, 21 points in the second half, Jack, the most that they've scored in the second half all year. The next best was 17 against the Saints. Tick. First game with 100 rushing yards since the Bengals 5 games ago, Sunday Night Football. Tick. Took advantage, I thought, game plan-wise, of the Broncos linebackers in coverage, Justin Sternard and Cody Barton. They were targeted 9 times, 9 catches, 107 yards. What did you think? I'll leave it open. This game plan, how did you think it worked, Andy? Were you happy with the offensive game plan from start to finish? Did we get close to a complete game on offense, maybe for the first time of the year?
Probably as close, I think, as we've been. I really enjoyed the use of screens. They worked, and it's great to see. The run game sort of direction, 3 to 7 zone to gap ratio was great. Gus was running angry.
17, Andy. 17 gap to 3 zone. I think you might have said 7.
No, 3 to 17 zone to gap.
Heavy. That's back to what he does.
Gap.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of trust in the offensive line, and you saw Mustafa in there, Solier on short downs too. So they were really going like kind of jumbo set to run the ball inside the tackles. And I think that's where Gus is better because he doesn't really have the speed to get on the outside and doesn't have that swift cut to make the miss. But look, like I said, running angry, that was great to see. Kamani as well, Haskins to a degree. Jack, you're spot on with the discipline of the team. It was great. We're not having big plays called back by stupid penalties. And look, moments like that's a big point of mine as well, was taking advantage of the linebackers in coverage, and we exposed them. You didn't really see much of Pat Surtain, so that's a good thing as well for the directive of the passing game. So I thought,
and Herbert did really pick up the team as well and put him on his shoulders. He had that moment where it's I'm in prime time. Ryan Fitzpatrick's made some critical remarks. I'm going to use my legs and go show everyone and probably make, a top 5 throw in my whole career with that touchdown pass to Davis. Jack, what can I ask you something about maybe conversations we've had previously? Mm-hmm. The offensive line. Yeah. So what? Yeah. Go to tell us about your thoughts. Do you think that this
was there a question there, or just?
Well, I don't want to box you in. I don't want to box you in. Talk to me about the O-line.
It's Christmas. Put me in a box and unwrap me, baby.
I'll put you in a box. Did this performance allay your concerns about the offensive line against other defenses? Let me give you a couple of numbers. So they allowed a combined 21 pressures. Now, just remember, when PFF says that you can have multiple pressures allowed on one snap. So if the guard and center both lose, that will be clocked up as 2 pressures. But a different stat, this was Herbert's second lowest pressure to sack percentage game of the season at only 10%, which might tell you something about the types of pressures that were being allowed. Herbert was able to not be sacked. What do you think?
Yeah, listen, it doesn't allay my fears of the interior offensive line at all, because I think at halftime, I can't remember whether it was Bozeman or Pipkins had a PFF rating of 1.1. That's the lowest I've ever seen of any player at any time. To be honest, putting this drink bottle out there under center possibly would have been a better idea, and Herbert snapping the ball to himself. There are still major mistakes that are occurring. And what I will say is that whatever the strategy of the Denver Broncos was to kind of try to push outside. I found Herbert, for one of the first times I've seen in recent weeks, he was actually stepping up into the pocket and buying himself a little bit of time. So whatever was happening in interior, it just sort of wasn't coming as hard as perhaps in previous weeks. I still
say that again.
It is Christmas. I still just have major issues with sometimes how, especially the interior guys, what their assignments are, because it's multiple times we're seeing Bozeman and Pipkins go to the same guy, leaving the middle linebacker through the A gap, and it's a sack or a pressure. There was one by who was the white linebacker for them? Drew Sanders.
His only snap for the game.
His only snap for the game, and he gets a sack. So, listen, Joe.
I don't even think Bozeman knew that he was in the backfield on that play. He just
they're probably like me and thought he was on IR and not playing this season, so they just didn't see him on the field, and there's 3 comes.
There's still and I think Herbert's game plan
comes.
Herbert's play did cover some of the poor play on that interior. So I don't know what the answer is, because we're going to have to see this in the postseason now, all things being well and good. But again, they blitzed a lot. Is it better than the start of the season?
No, Jack, can I correct you on that? Vance Joseph, I would say, blitzed less. That was their tricky game plan. They're a high blitz team, and they blitzed Herbert on 27% of downs, which is much lower than what they usually blitz. They're more like a Todd Bowles style, where you expect 40% plus. So I think that was their curveball.
Okay, well, it didn't work, obviously, so I'm not sure why you wouldn't blitz highly one of the sort of teams that really struggles with it. Anyway, yeah, I wasn't super. I haven't had a chance to watch the All-22 this week. Alistair, you did. What did you see from the interior or the offensive line?
I feel like this happens sometimes where I after I watch a broadcast, I feel one way, and then after I watch the All-22, I feel a different way. This was not the case. When I watched the broadcast, I thought the line held up all right. And then I saw some of these high pressures allowed percentages and thought, that didn't gel with what I saw. Then on the All-22, I don't really get giving Bozeman a pass blocking grade of 17.5. Pipkins a pass blocking grade of 23.7. To me, if you're giving those kind of total fail grades, I would expect to see free rushes up the middle, guys falling on their ass. I did not see that. I saw an offense that scored 30-something points, and I know Herbert was getting it out a bit more quickly, but apart from that Drew Sanders pressure and the one earlier where the linebacker was allowed through the aid gap, I didn't think it was that bad. Like, I thought they were worse against the Bucks. I thought they were worse against the Steelers. So the grading did not actually align as much with what I saw, but I also thought the scheme and the strategy was very different and helps protect this O-line. And maybe that's the answer to your question, Jack. This game, Herbert was tied for his lowest average depth of target of the year at 6.9. Maybe average depth of target is not what it's cracked up to be necessarily. You can win by having a few of those checks over the ball, Jack. We saw tight ends targeted. We saw some screens.
Well,
I feel like running backs were finally being targeted.
Well, I was going to say, before you asked me the offensive line question, you talk about the offensive efficiency, where I think there are 28 total targets, and McConkey was tied with Joshua Palmer for being targeted 6 times. So, yeah, McConkey had a big game, 6 catches, 6 targets, 100% receiving target there with 87 yards. But then you're looking at Stone Smart was targeted 4 times, Quentin Johnson 4 times, Josh Palmer 6 times, Hassan Haskins twice, Darius Davis twice, Tucker Fisk, Hurst, Edwards, Matlock all once. And it makes a huge difference, right? Because those Haskins, Davis, Fisk, Hurst, Edwards, Matlock targeted twice, caught twice, targeted once, caught once. They're not dropping them. That makes such a big difference. And I thought that early outlet pass to Scott Matlock, not that I want to see a lot of that, where he makes a guy miss and gets sort of pretty much the first down. What a move.
You could move that well on the dance floor, Jack. That was sexy.
Hey, remember, I'm known as Twinkle Toes when I can put my mind to it. I've got beautiful, beautiful calves and Achilles.
Never heard you called Twinkle Toes before in my whole life.
You should have seen me on the basketball court, mate. I was just a mover and a groove.
Haven't you had like ankle surgery?
You haven't played for 20 years.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm channeling my my inner 15-year-old. Do
whatever you want with your inner 15.
That's why I was talking about coming hard so much.
Fuck.
Jesus. Okay. Merry Christmas, everybody. But yeah, those early those early targets to your fullback, and eventually, that Hassan Haskins little shovel pass, that changes the way you have to play defense because you're not expecting them. And I thought that was a great game plan.
We've been calling for that for a while, haven't we? Just like,
oh yeah,
rather than dump offs to, dare we say it, Tucker Fisk and Scott Matlock, and then bombs. Like, it's boom or bust approach. This was a little bit of that, a 19 here or a shot for 23 there, etc. And then short completions, yards after catch. Beautiful way for Haskins to score that whole play on, I think it was 3rd and 13, to, get through the pressure, step up and shovel off for a 4-yard gain, and Haskins does the rest. Like, that sort of stuff, you need that variation, that that change, because it keeps the defense guessing. And I think that's what the offense did very well, was not be too stuck in a channel of doing one thing and trying to force one thing. Like you said, a lot of completions to different receivers and efficiency. We have to bring up, was that QJ's worst drop?
No, I don't think it was. I think that the Green Bay one and some of the ones that he had a couple of weeks ago are pretty bad.
It was like a stationary target, and he had 4 bites at it, and just actually his hands fell off, like they detached from his limb, like a lizard.
It's good that you mention that, because it's easy, and this is why, again, there was actually a Harbaugh.
It's becoming a theme, isn't it?
It is. There was a Harbaugh 4th down decision I didn't like in this game, and we'll never talk about it because the team won.
Amazing.
And there was a QJ drop, but it just shows that winning can mask and paper over cracks, right? You don't care as much. I mean, if you're a good coach, if you're a good teacher like Jack, you would actually take note of those and still coach up during the week and say, look, we won the game, but QJ, you had this drop. Let's go back to the jugs machine, mate. But go.
I was going to say, Alistair just on the wide receivers, and I don't think we need to harp on QJ. We know what's going to happen. He might have a poor game against the Patriots, but then against the Raiders or against our playoff opponent, he's going to have a game where he does. I mean, he just seems to go like this, as the team does. What I did notice, and something that we've kind of been calling for, is helping, or Roman trying to help wide receivers get open. Now, I don't know if you saw this on the All-22, but Lad McConkey is moving a lot pre-snap. He is getting, dare I say, that game against Miami early last year when Mike McDaniel was getting Tyreek Hill to move pre-snap and running and getting up ahead of steam and then going.
Yep.
I noticed that happening over and over and over again. And I feel like mixed in with Lad McConkey's shifty ability at the top of a route, this guy's going to be around 70, 80 yards every week because he's so challenging to cover. How did you see that? And what did you think of some of the sets from the wide receivers and just some of the scheme? Are we seeing those receivers all go to the same spot again, or are we actually seeing different levels from this, I guess, second half?
I thought there were different levels this week. I agree with Andy. It was less boom or bust just in the structure of the passing game. Though, to your point, Jack, they were looking to hit their explosives by using a lot of motion. They're a high motion team, but the way I think they were using some bunch sets. They were using Darius Davis on orbit motion quite a lot. Darius Davis showcased deep threat ability a couple of times. There was actually one, like you said, they used the Tyreek Hill style short motion outwards off the snap, sent him down on a streak, and they didn't end up throwing to him on that one. I think that might have been the one where Herbert rolled to his left and then came across and hit Stone Smart in the middle of the field.
Yep.
But there are a few more elements, some signs perhaps that Greg Roman is finding some form at the right time of the year as people get healthier. And what sums it up for me is when I take notes for these shows, I've usually got it as bullet points. And for offense this week, I have 14 bullets that I would say are a positive nature and 3 that are a negative nature. And it's most of the year, it's been the other way around. I've just got stats for days about how he didn't do this or didn't do that. And here I've got, Josh Palmer, Gus the Bus, longest run of the season, second longest of his career. Play action, 11 of 14, 134 yards. Scott Matlock, best game. Tucker Fisk, best game. So it just seems like we hit all these high, impressive stats against what was maybe the best defense statistically in the year, for the year heading into the game. So
yeah,
things are boding well.
When you break it down like that, 34 points against, probably the number one defense, is awesome because, I'll say it. I said I wasn't going to do it during the live watch. Sorry, Athir, got this one wrong. Happy the team won.
He actually asked for an apology from you both right at the outset, but you got it 20 minutes in, Athir.
Apologies, Athir.
All right, onto the defense, guys. Obviously, it was a positive game for the offense, but as you foreshadowed, Andy, team allowed touchdowns on the first 3 Broncos drives. I will say, listeners, the Chargers have now allowed 27 points in 4 of their last 6 games. Bengals, Ravens, Bucks, Broncos. Let's do a temperature check. Jack, how are you feeling about this defense at this point of the season?
Not amazing, possibly not as hot as I could be 4 weeks ago. And that's generally because of the injuries. Marcus May going down. I know he's not a key part of it, but he's still a veteran that has played pretty well. I mean,
He's also about the 4th backup at the position already. Marcus
I know,
May.
but he's a solid backup, right? So
no, I'm agreeing with you. Like, he's only in because Gilman's out, because Molden's out, and then May's in, and then May's out. It's just
So, but Minter seemed to cover it, and I mean, Bo Nix had an average depth of target. I think it was of 3. Like, the guy didn't hit a long pass all day, which is quite different to what I've been watching him over the last couple of weeks as well. So whatever Minter did at halftime to just change things up slightly, I thought the interior was again exceptional between Puna and Tier Tart. I thought they were wonderful. We stopped the run completely. I did notice when we came out in the first half, I looked at the defense and went, these guys just don't seem to be ready. Their body language just wasn't, and I'm not being critical. That's just only what I observed. But when we came out in that second half, it was a completely different kettle of fish, really. So, Alistair, do you have any idea about what Minter actually did in the second half to sort of contrast what happened in the first?
Yeah, only a couple. I mean, I think football coaching types would be able to speak to things like changing up the defensive alignment and how the four down linemen were used. I wasn't focusing as much on that. In terms of simple personnel, I thought there was a real change where after Marcus May went down, Minter was saying, look, we need to play Derwin at the post. We need to play him deep. We can't allow these explosives. During that period, the Broncos scored their 3 touchdowns, and they were scoring it by being methodical in ways that they've done all year under Peyton. They like passing to the fullback in the flat. They like running from 22 personnel. They'll just do as you said, Jack, they had 3.3 air yards per attempt. So we had Derwin deep down the field, not really involved in the play. And then I hate to call out your man, Andy, but Ja'Seer Taylor in the nickel was really struggling to cover defenders.
And Trey McKitty.
Yeah, he's getting there and missing tackles. Then, Jack, in the second half, I thought there was a moment probably when the Broncos got 24 points. It took too long, but it's almost like Minter said, stuff it. I'm trusting Kendall Williamson. For the listeners, he was elevated from the practice squad. This is some 7th round pick from 2023 from the Bears. This was his first snaps in the NFL. He sounds like a Madden creator player, Kendall Williamson, like a cross between a rapper and a basketball player. But they just sent him out, and he played free safety, and Derwin suddenly played up in the box. And then what did we see? Off the snap, Derwin's rushing from the weak side and tackling a running back. He had that amazing pass breakup, near interception of, who was it? Was that Sutton, the receiver? I can't remember.
I can't remember either.
But whatever it was, that was a key personnel change. I'll turn it on a question back to you, Jack. One thing I thought was a real problem in this game was the linebacker play after Denzel Perryman got injured and Junior Colson took the field. But interestingly, they did not go with Troy Dye in this game. They trusted Junior Colson. What did you see, and what are you doing moving forward if Denzel's out for a while?
Yeah, I think our friend Ryan put it best. It just seems that the game is slightly too fast for him, and he's just not strong enough. I saw him get blown up on numerous run game blocks. He's reaching, just reading it maybe half a second late. Shades of our mate K9, dare I say, which is a bit worrisome. But you're not going to be too harsh and say that it's been a whiff. He's been injured, which means he hasn't been playing. The ascendance of Diane Henley has been wonderful. So just give this guy a little bit. On Diane Henley, he seems to be doing so much before the snap. And there were numerous times, I reckon 3 times, where I've seen him. He likes to do this at the line. Check, 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 check. He's yelling. I don't know whether he's confusing people, the defensive line, and maybe what's going on with some of the coverage. But the less times I see him doing all the posturing and the gesturing, sometimes the better the defensive outcome was. And I can't put my finger on it which play it was specifically, but it was something that I noticed. I thought Diane Henley had a really good game, given that he's been a little bit average the last couple of weeks. Andy, what did you see from the pass rush? Because we've been critical. They were fairly poor last week. They seem to be very lackadaisical against Baker Mayfield. But one of our guys that we've had our eyes on, which is Tuli Tuipulotu, which has had a bit of an up and down season, had a decent game, I thought. And do you think that Bo Nix was under pressure enough, and maybe we started to get home a little bit? That's why we had such success in the second half defensively?
I think early on, Peyton's plan was to get the ball out of his hands quicker, which is probably why you saw a lot of shorter completions. I saw Tooley a lot more in coverage than I probably would have expected. And, you know, the moments that I saw him when he was in coverage and noticeable rather than sort of coming in off the edge was that he just ain't that great in coverage. Not his, you know, that's not the strong sword in his sheath, but as far as Mac and Bosa go, Bosa was okay. Mac struggled a bit too. They just kind of look like they had the bye in week 5. You know, they're coming to the end. They're both 30, 32, and they just looked a little tired out there, unable to sort of get home. Couldn't really beat Bowles, and forgive me the left tackle, but it wasn't
right tackle.
It wasn't it wasn't a massive showing. But they got a couple of sacks. Bud Dupree got through and got one, so sort of did enough. And they came, I guess, at pretty crucial points. Like Bosa's sack, I think, was 4 minutes to go in the second quarter, and it led to their first punt, and that was one of those momentum-stopping moments of defense. Because Jack, I'm just going to go back to what you were saying about the injuries being the big kind of roadblock for how the team's, gone from the best scoring defense in the league to, I think, now the 4th. It's a little bit that, and also we're playing some good offenses as well. And I think we've been gifted with the results that we've had for the personnel that we've had out there. And we're playing a lot of young guys. We've had Molden in and out, Fulton in and out a bit, wavering sort of form for those two. And we've just been, playing against really good offenses and exposed a little bit and just sort of tapered back to this is where we should actually be rather than, and sure, the injuries do play a part, but I think it's, we're not going to fix it all with a slap together kind of unit. There were issues with angles taken. Derwin was critical with that as well. Just see
Marvin Mims,
against on that wheel that he barely got him tackled out of bounds by tugging on his shirt. So look, but on the whole, I was really interested. I thought that they played a lot more. I guess when Derwin came up the field, they played a lot more single linebacker in the formation. But I don't really know why Dye only played one defensive rep and was sort of subjected to special teams, because with Perryman out behind Henley, Dye's been head and shoulders above. He's almost outplayed Henley in some games.
Yep.
So
I think it was game plan, Andy. I think what they saw was Sean Payton, a guy who likes to play multiple tight ends, fullback, running back, and they thought we'll go with our 6'2" Junior Colson kind of thicker set linebacker. I don't think it worked, and I think they're going to have to reevaluate that. One thing before our awards, the play of Christian Fulton, I feel like has kind of swung back a little bit into the positive, specifically in regards to his tackling ability. I thought he really has made that an emphasis in the last 2 or 3 games. We know that's important in zone-heavy defensive systems, and I think he's making a case to be re-signed. It would also be remiss not to mention a critical play in the game was the non-call of the defensive PI. Tahib still on Marvin Mims. Do you guys might remember in week 6 at Denver, there was actually a very similar play still on Mims 40 yards down the field and still came from nowhere facing the wrong way and actually punched the ball out. And it was a critical play in that game. I think this one, maybe Broncos fans have reason to be a little bit annoyed with the refs.
Every right to be annoyed. There was grabbing of the hand, no head around, body contact.
But it was underthrown, man. You don't want to see flags on that, man.
Do you know what? There's nothing better than it's getting on social media after we beat the Broncos and watching them. I've been on Broncos pages and they're just like, oh, Lombardi's this and Lombardi's that. I'm like, yeah, well, I hope you guys miss the playoffs. Suck that. That would be so good. So good.
Or in Sean Payton trying to run some meaningless plays just before the first half and you punt it and then you give us that extra 3-point opportunity. Yeah, that was Sean Payton being a little bit too big for his own boots, I reckon.
Yeah, get Kevin James in there for sure. But look, what we must say is the result of that the second half adjustments. Just before we do get onto the awards, we allowed only 2 of 8 third down conversions in the second half. Where I've got in my notes, the first half defense was as porous as a clump of limestone. So to tighten up nicely, allowing 21 rush yards, only 108 pass yards. And look, 14 of 19 attempts, but they were behind and had to throw the ball. So sure, they're going to run the ball less, but it was great to see after giving up 89 yards in the first half on the ground to tighten that up, because it was one of those games where they were getting 6, 7, 8 a clip on first down, and we just weren't looking like we were bringing down Watson, Williams, or Estime. And man, I liked Estime out of Notre Dame, and he just showed that he's a real wrecking ball of a back. So really good effort in the second half to adjust and, stop them in their tracks. Anything further on defense? Special teams? Nothing? No, cool.
No.
Righty, award is mine this week, and I'm probably being a little bit harsh, but it's been a tough year for the injury player Joey Bosa. He did have that sack with 4 minutes remaining in the second quarter, and it was a good moment. But beyond that, as you said offline, Al, he looked moribund, clearly declining in his endurance and overall physical ability. A 5.4% win rate on blocks in 38 snaps, and staring down the barrel of his lowest return for pressures and sacks in a season where he's played over 400 snaps. So whiffs in the air could very well be his last year as a Charger, and it might be one of those tactical decisions to save a bit of coin and invest in the youth. Joey Bosa.
Wouldn't it be great if the Chargers could wrap up a seed that they can't move off after week 17 and give some players a chance to rest in week 18? That'll be a decision. We know it doesn't always work well when you play starters in meaningless week 18 games from experience. Joey Bosa looks like he could do with the rest, and very instructive comment by you earlier, Andy, that week 5 bye's a long time ago. So there's probably a few players in that category. All right, this week I've got the Award. I'm going special teams with it. I'm going with Jack's favourite himself, Ryan Ficken. You guys will know that there are some people in life who are creative types, and then people who are good at executing rules and knowing and having great attention to detail. I tend to find some people either have creativity or they don't. Ficken is one of those guys. For me, the was when he got a chance to do the fake punt pass against the Falcons, and all we could come up with was J.K. Scott rolling to the right, incomplete pass to Stone Smart. Nope, that's not Ryan Ficken's jam. Ryan Ficken would have been a very good Nazi officer, I reckon. Ryan Ficken. He's the guy who knows. He's the guy who can execute. Jesus. He can execute attention to detail, and he knows the rules. And per Chris Rim, Cameron Dicker said that the Chargers have always practiced the fair catch free kick under special teams coordinator Ryan Ficken. He said they watch Panthers kicker Joey Sly's 60-yard attempt from 2019 every Friday. Dicker said he had no clue this rule was a thing before Ryan Ficken. So, you get the Nayer Award, Ficken. You're not creative, but you're a very attention-to-detail-oriented coach. And when the moment presented itself, Cameron Dicken slammed through that free kick from 57 yards. Well done to the whole special teams unit. Maybe I should have gone with a movie analogy instead. He would have been well cast as Colonel Hans Landa in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that would have been a much nicer touch than doing
Ryan
whatever the hell that
Ficken,
was.
we love you, mate.
Apparently Harbaugh was quoted as, obviously, the last time that happened was a Chargers player, Ray, surname escapes me, Weschling or something, in 1976. And Harbaugh was quoted after the game as saying, I've been wanting to have that, to use that rule the whole time I've been a coach, the whole time I've been in the league, which is just probably classic Harbaugh tripe, but that was cool stuff. All right, Jack, Teachable, let's do it.
Well, decent segue, because this week's Teachable Moment is brought to you by Julius Caesar and Gaul. Because when we think about the strategy of a fair catch field goal, the execution of it, which was rare in the NFL, parallels another wonderful leader's decision in tactics, and that's Julius Caesar. In the Battle of Alesia in 52 BC, Caesar employed a double fortification strategy, constructing 2 extensive walls to encircle the Gallic forces, what we now know as modern-day France. And that was hardly used in the ancient world because of its complexity to build 2 fortified walls around an enemy. it did lead to a decisive victory. Dare I say, Julius Caesar, Jim Harbaugh, the Gallic Forces, Peyton and Denver. And I think it shows that attention to detail, like we alluded to earlier, can change how a team performs. That 3 points moving into halftime when in the face of a pretty bad first half defeat, all of a sudden you've got a little bit of a victory. That changes the halftime speech. It changes the mood coming out of the defense. It changes the mood of the offense saying, hey, we can get these guys. Please, please, please learn, Harbaugh, that when you're on the other side of that and you're Peyton being that coach and going, oh, we'll go conservative, whatever, we don't need to worry about it. Just know how important that momentum shift can be. Like Caesar in Gaul, which was pretty much the penultimate victory that he had to dominate that area of the world. Harbaugh, remember that. It's a teachable moment for you, sir. Tactics and momentum are a key part of coaching in the NFL. Happy holidays, class dismissed. Fuck off. I don't want to mark any more of your papers. Piss off. See you later.
We're letting rip this show. I'm talking about friggin' Nazis. Jack's calling Caesar a wonderful leader. I don't know how the Gauls would have felt about that.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. Well, yeah, just before we move on, we've got a little something Christmas-related prepared for the end of today's show. But as mentioned during the recap, Perryman and Marcus May both the two big defensive injuries as we move on to week 17. Potential opportunity for the Chargers to play in some nice northeastern winter weather. Gents, just not going to go into the game, just a result prediction before we head to wrap up the show. Jack, what are you thinking for this week?
Yeah, I think it's a win this week. I think ideally we want to win out and get that bye week in week 17 against the Raiders, I feel. So I'm not sure. Week 18, I should say. I was trying to watch the May game today, but obviously we're recording a podcast in it. At the moment, they seem to be up on Buffalo, so 14-7, with 13 seconds to go in the second quarter. So it'd be interesting to watch that second half after we finish recording, gents. But I think it's a win.
Score?
Yeah, me too.
No, score?
Yeah.
Let's go 20-17.
I'll go 27-10.
Yeah, I've got 20.
We're going to be feeling really good. We're going to be feeling good.
I think so. Okay, moving on. And keeping up with the festive spirit, our last show before the holiday season is upon us. We thought we'd take a creative spin on some Christmas classics and finish up with a couple of Chargers carols prepared by each of us. So I'm going to throw to Jack for his first little Christmas rendition.
Oh, God, I have to start it off. All right, throw to the best one. Fair enough. I understand that. Well, I picked my Christmas carol, and this is the 12 Days of Chargers Christmas. Now, I'm not going to bore you all with singing every 12 verses. I'm just going to go straight off the top and sing about the things that the Chargers have given us this year. On the 12th day of Christmas, my dear Bolts gave to me 12 Harbaugh Old Man stories, 11 season wins, 10 Roman Feld runs, 9 Thule sacks, 8 Joey Owie, 7 Horty's draft pick, 6 playoff seed, 5 Herbert bombs, 4 Tahib picks, 3 useless interior linemen, 2 elite tackles, and hopefully a Lombardi in the trophy tree next year.
Very good.
Not bad.
All right, I'll jump in. I've gone a bit of Mariah Carey, listeners. So this is All I Want for Christmas is a Super Bowl.
Sings this to himself every shower.
I don't want a lot for Christmas. 2EDU is all I need. But if there was a magic genie granting me one wish for free, I just want Harbaugh and Co. more than you could ever know to make my wish come true. Yes, all I want for Christmas is a Super Bowl, baby. Ba-dum-ba-dum-dum-dum. The only person the Texans are scaring is Tua, who's got CTE. And am I nuts to think the Chargers might rise atop the AFC? I know those Chiefs have lots of wins and rings and refs to get them through. Hey, Andy Reid, Mahomes, and Kelsey, I've got 2 words to say, fuck you. Russell Wilson still a joke. The Bills and Ravens tend to choke. My world is powder blue. Herbie, all I want for Christmas is a Super Bowl. Yeah.
There we go. Done. Well done. Started off shaky, but came home strong.
Thank you. Like the Chargers this week.
Yeah.
I've got that horrible moment where listening to 2 other songs has completely thrown out the timing of my song, which is awesome. But I've gone with the Little Receiver Boy. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Trade up with New England. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. A Georgia Bulldog, he wears 15. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Beats man and zone with ease and bling. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Chargers new receiver king. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum-pum-pum. Yards after catch ability. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Please stay injury free. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Oh, Glad McConkey. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. 960 yards and 5 TDs. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum. Oh, the joy you bring to me. Pa-ra-pa-pum-pum-pum-pum. There we go.
Well done.
Ode to Lad. So,
Very good.
a lot of you guys must have turned off during probably the Nazi comment earlier, which we forgive Alistair for. He's getting cold for Christmas. You certainly turned off when we started singing. Uncle Jams, you're lucky we stayed clothed. But it has been a wonderful 2024 for us. I think we might squeeze in one more show if we can muster that before the new year is upon us. But guys, have a lovely and safe holiday from the 3 of us here all across the world. Christmas, if you believe in it, whatever else your denomination is, be well, enjoy your family, your friends, lots of food, drink, whatever you want, wherever you want it. We'll enjoy ourselves, and we'll see you next time on the Thunder Down Under Chargers podcast. Go Bolts!
Happy holidays.
See you later.
Backpedals looking, firing. He's got Floyd turning. Got it! 6 and 10, 5, high step, touchdown! San Diego!
Woo! Good night! Good night to all!